Today on Muddy Beards 4x4, I'm going to be installing this Aussie locker into the trail plug, my 1999 Jeep Cherokee XJ. Well, alright you guys, now in order to install this locker, the Aussie locker, it is a Lunchbox style locker, and so in order to install it, I need to remove the carrier from the front differential. So that will require me to remove the front diff cover, drain all the fluids, and of course remove the carrier. But before I can remove the carrier, I need to slide the axle shafts out. So in order to take the axle shafts out, there is three 12.13 millimeter bolts that I'm going to have to remove so that I can actually slide the axle shafts out. So that is the first step, so I'm going to go ahead and remove those bolts. Now with the axles removed from both sides, you don't have to pull them all the way out, but I think it's a good time to inspect them and stuff anyway, so I went ahead and pulled them all the way out. I also removed the tie rod. It makes it a lot easier, so I just took off the tie rod because it makes it a lot easier to access the differential. So now what I need to do is remove the bolts on the diff cover. They're also 13 mil or ½ inch, and then I can drain all the fluid and remove the cover itself. Now with the differential cover removed and the fluid all drained, I'm going to go ahead and remove the bearing caps here. So one of the most important things to remember when you do this is that you do not want to mix up the bearing caps. If you put it back together with them on the wrong side or flip top to bottom, all your clearances and tolerances are going to be off. So make sure when you take them off, lay them out appropriately. Kelly set these gears up actually a couple years ago. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but he actually punched just with a punch here. It's the 3-hole punch and 3-hole punch, and this one has 2. So that way we could tell them apart, but really the easiest way is to just take them off and lay them out in the correct order so that you know. Also, the Dana 30 has a Y stamped into the bottom of the bearing caps on both sides. So that way that you know that is the side that goes down. So let's go ahead and pop this thing off, and I can actually remove the whole carrier from the housing. Awesome. All right, well, with the carrier now out and on the bench, what I need to do is I need to disassemble the open carrier here, and I need to remove the spider gears. So the first thing I need to do for that is I need to remove these 10 ring gear bolts from the top of the carrier. Your hand. All right, well now with the ring gear removed, and with Kelly here helping out,
supervising, making sure it doesn't get messed up.
Word. The next thing I need to do is I need to remove the roller pin, which retains the center pin. So I need to use this punch, and I can punch out the roller pin, and I should be able to slide the center pin out of the carrier, and then I'll be able to actually remove the spider gears. There we go. Alright, with the center pin removed, I should be able to remove the spider gears. Now what's really important is to not misplace the shims. So as you kind of twist them, you can pull the spider gears right out. And you'll notice that they have little washers or little shims attached. You don't want to forget where they were so that when you put it back, you can put it back in place. Just remove these. There. Oh, and there's one of the shims or the washers. Let's see if I can get these axle gears out. There's that one. And the washer is here. And there's the last one with the washer. Alright, well now for assembly. This kit comes with a couple different pieces here. So you have the axle gears, which go on either side here, and I already have my shims from the proper side already in place. It comes with two cam gears that have the holes in it for the pins and the springs, and then it comes with 2 of the spacers. The first thing that we need to install is the axle gears, and those simply just go, remembering to put them in the correct place with the correct shim, they simply just go inside the carrier. Like so. I'm just going to put the other side in. Just like that. Alright, now for the cam gear installation, there are 4 holes on each cam gear, and the part that has the slot in it is where you're going to install the little pins. So each of these little pins actually has like this little nipple piece, and that piece goes down towards the teeth. So it's a good idea to put a little bit of a grease on here, just a little bit of pre-lubrication, and it helps keep the pins in place. So I'm going to put the pins in each of the slotted grooves on the cam gears. Shoot. Okay. Alright, well now with the pins in place, before I go ahead and put this back inside the carrier, you need to take the spacer, and the spacer goes with this lip side down inside the cam gear again towards the gears. So before I put the gears in, we'll make sure my pins don't fall out. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of grease on both sides. Awesome. Probably have to cut that.
Supposed to do that?
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that. But you put a little bit of grease on both sides just to help keep things in place when you put them in for installation. Alright, well, we realized a quick mistake here. Before I go ahead and install the cam gears, the instructions say for Aussie lock here that you should put the spacers in first and go ahead and put your center pin in. And then that is where you should actually measure your tolerances actually between the spacer and the center pin. So this is 0.006, so 6 thousandths is supposed to be the, what was that, Kelly, the minimum gap?
Minimum.
Okay, and it slides in there nice and fine, so we actually should be right at the correct spec. So I don't think I'll have to change any of my shims or anything because it looks like we have our correct tolerances. Alright, now with my tolerances all in spec for sure, now I can go ahead and put the cam gear back in. So one of the things I just figured out as I was putting this in, that it seems to be a lot easier to get the ring gear side cam gear in first. It almost seems like it's impossible to slide the other side in without doing the ring gear side first. So when you're doing this, that's just kind of a helpful tip, at least that I found. Slide the ring gear cam gear in first, or the ring gear side cam gear in first. All right, well, now that the cam gears are in, what we need to do is take those pins and we can slide them across to the other cam gear. So each pin you can do that with. And as long as the holes are lined up, they will slide in. And this part's a little hard, but you need to get this spring in here. And I use just a tiny little flathead screwdriver to get the spring inside, in between the pin and the cam gear. Son of a monkey's uncle.
Dude, you're choking in front of the camera.
Ah, just like that. There it is. Now those pins were a little challenging to get in, but now that they're all in, the last thing that I want to do before I put the ring gear, reinstall the ring gear is measure the gap now between the cam gears. So according to the instructions, the gap, the clearance should be 0.145 to 0.170. And this is 145, which is the minimum, and it slides in fairly easily. So I mean, as long as it's not smaller than that, we're good. And it's tight enough that I know that it has to be within spec. All right, now putting the ring gear back into place, I'm just gonna hold it up here, put a little bit of red Loctite on each one of the bolts, and we're just gonna get them started by hand at first. And you're gonna wanna do a crisscross pattern. So one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, so on and so forth. All right, with the ring gear bolts now just nice and snug, moved the whole carrier over to my vise so I can torque it down to 55 foot-pounds. And of course you're going to want to do the same crossing pattern, of course, for the entire ring gear. My XJ can't drive 55.
Now you got that song stuck in your head, huh?
Yep.
Taking some liberties with the lyrics, though, I see.
My XJ can't drive 55. Now with everything torqued down, it's time for the carrier with my new locker to be put back inside the differential.
Here you go.
Okay. Now I'm going to put the bearing caps back on, of course making sure that they are in the correct position and for the right side. So if I look at the stamp of the Y, here's the Y, so I know that's facing down. I'm going to hand tighten these in for now and get them nice and snug so I can torque them down to 60 foot-pounds. There you have it, you guys. That is how to install an Aussie locker, a Lunchbox style locker, into a Dana 30 front axle. I'll have to say one of the best parts about this project is I'm really impressed and surprised of how easy the install was. And it is honestly a super affordable way to get a lot of traction in the front. The instructions that came with the kit and the locker itself were excellent, and it made it very easy install. You know, you don't even really need much specialty tools. Just make sure you have a punch, which is something I didn't have. I had to borrow that from Kelly to get that roller pin out of the carrier. You need a good torque wrench and some feeler gauges. And other than that, it's just basic hand tools. So it is a project that I think really anybody can do. And so I really hope the video helped. I would like to do a review video in the future. So I want to get a couple wheeling trips in, drive this thing around the street, around town a little bit, and so I can kind of get an honest evaluation of the performance and to tell you how well it holds up. I know that running 36-inch tires in a locker and a Dana 30, we'll see what happens. So I think it's going to be fine, and I can't wait to have all the extra traction and the performance gain that the locker is going to give me. So I'm pretty excited. So if you like the video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below. And as always, we will see you on the trail.